Oh yeah! Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. USD. I can't even fake it. Go!
Woo!
I mean, look, we're a little rusty right now because
Fights.
there's no preview show last week. There's no.
You want to know how
UFC
rusty
card.
we are? You want to know how
How
rusty we are? I just put up a poll with nothing in it.
Oh God! Man.
That's how off my game I am.
Well, listen, the UFC is back. We had a rare weekend
Sort
off.
of.
And we got UFC Vegas 56 tomorrow. It is an afternoon card, which I like very much. Prelims start at 1 p.m. Eastern. Main card at 4 p.m. Eastern. Yes, there are 14 fights, and we have a heavyweight main event. A heavyweighty main event, if you could ever find one, between Alexander Volkov and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, a couple of top 10 guys looking to probably stay where they're at, if we're being honest, with the victory, but maybe we'll find some diamonds in the rough there. But I am Mike Heck. Hope you're all having a wonderful Friday. I'm being joined by the Prince of Positivity, Mr. Alexander K. Lee. Weigh-ins are, the weigh-in post is done, and you're back, baby. You're back.
Yeah, that was thrilling. That was thrilling stuff. My first weigh-ins post in 3 weeks, so I was very excited. And people read it at MMA.com. You'll feel my enthusiasm, just the love that I poured into it. With nobody missed, the heavyweights took the longest as expected. It was just super eventful. I know everyone was on point. I'm happy.
There you go. And Jed Meshew is also here with us, fresh off another appearance on BTL, where he actually made some very good points and may have won the actual show, if we're being honest. I think he kind of got hosed by the judges.
I for sure beat Drake. I'm happy for him to have beaten me the last time we fought. That's fine, whatever. I 100% beat Drake, but Drake just has a fan base. You can't overcome it. But like I won from the Movsar thing. Like that alone, that was a TKO victory right there as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, and we will surely talk about him as this program persists. But AK, I want to begin with you because we had a week off, and in the United States, it was a long weekend. It was Memorial Day weekend, of course. That's how we have to remember why we're celebrating such an event. But we had a long weekend, no UFC card, and now we're back, and we are back with this card, AK. So gymnastics scale us. We have missed this. What do we do? What are we looking at here? Gymnastics scale for UFC Vegas 56.
6 out of 10.
Wow.
That's it.
That's it. I think that's as low as you can go. I think I want to say the scale starts at 6. It's like the NBA. It's like the NBA dunk contest. They only give them cards 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Like you might want you can, even if someone misses a dunk, like you have to give them a 6 or something like that. I don't think you can go. I think for a card to even exist it requires a baseline degree of difficulty of 6. This is really my shout out to the staff and the fighters, for putting this together. Everyone made weight. We've got 14 fights. I mean, it's 6. I think 6 is fine. Again, if anything, I'm underselling it because this is a classic. Oh, nobody's talking about this card, so it can only over deliver. So if the fight is the card is half decent, people are going to tell me like, oh, that card is like an 8 or a 9, but really it's a 6. I think if everything goes right, I still don't think we'll be talking about this card by the end of the year.
Jed, you disagree with AK's baseline number. Why is that?
This is like a 4 at best. Like this is a tough hang by any stretch of the imagination. If 14 fights is an infinite number of fights, even though I don't want to knock too heavily the wonderful people that put together every UFC card, but like when in my mind the dominant storyline coming in is a hoodwinky fighter making his way to the UFC, potentially entirely undeserved at this point. It doesn't feel like you guys did a ton of background either. And like the structure is all off. And we're going to talk about it, I'm sure. Aaron Blanchfield is the curtain jerker. And that's kind of good because you can just watch that and then not watch the rest of the fight and be done at 1 p.m. Eastern. That'll be great. But like otherwise, this is a lot. It's, as you mentioned, it's a maximum heavyweight fight at the top. And they're not fighting for anything because they're 7 and 8 in the rankings. The winners, they're just either going to stay the same or they're going to swap.
I disagree.
You okay? Well, we'll get to your hot take.
I've got a spicy. I've got a spicy angle.
Well,
that's
then maybe
really
that's
gonna
maybe that's
whet
why
the
you have
appetite.
this as 6, because this is like I said, this is a tough hang, and it's even more tough because we're coming off a weekend off, and then this is what we're getting back in with, and we've got 275, which is great. Like next week, so this is really just spinning our wheels in the most of fashions. So yeah, tough hang this weekend.
Way to sell our viewers. But AK, maybe you are the Prince of Positivity after all, and you are saying into a live microphone that this heavyweight main event, you have some spice to deliver here. So I'm just, I listen, we got Volkov versus Rozenstruik.
Sure.
We were saying 7 and 8. I was thinking that these guys are basically fighting for where they're at right now, and maybe you disagree with that. So sell us on this main event. I'm ready for the spiciness.
First of all, 8 and 9. 8 and 9, the MMA Fighting global rankings. The only rankings that matter. The latest edition came out this week. Check it out.
My mistake. I had them off by 1 apiece. I apologize.
Well, I bet they're even lower in the in just the Jed rankings. They're probably lower, right?
No, they might actually be
one of these
close
guys
to there.
Is one of these guys out of the top 10 in your rankings?
Hold on, I'll pull them up while you give us
you
the
pull
spicy
up,
hot takes.
First, the second thing is, listen, we're not here to be UFC PR. We shouldn't have to sell a card for people. That's not our job. But today I will, because I'll tell you what's online in this main event. Do you know what neither of these men has ever done in the UFC?
Entertain us?
Title?
Hey.
I
mean, these answers are not incorrect. They're just true. You know what? This question was a little too open-ended.
That's actually not true. Rozenstruik getting clobbered by Francis throwing the worst punches of all time is really entertaining.
Here is something I can tell you statistically they have never done. Neither man has ever lost 2 fights in a row in the UFC. Casey, where's the... Oh, sorry, Casey. I didn't give you time to queue up the okay. Let's try that again. We'll fix it in post for the podcast. Neither man has ever lost 2 straight fights in the UFC.
Wow. That is...
Okay, well, I'm not going to do it a third time, but that's pretty impressive. Rozenstruik has never lost 2 straight fights, period. I think Volkov did in Bellator. I think on his way out from Bellator.
Did to Tony Johnson and Czech Congo.
Listen, you got to respect that consistency. And considering some of the names they fought mostly top 10, top 15 heavyweights in the UFC. To not lose 2 straight, that's impressive. But something's got to give. Tonight, both guys coming off losses. You will witness history. UFC, if you're out there, use the soundbite. You will witness history on Saturday when one of these heavyweight stalwarts suffers 2 consecutive losses inside the octagon for the first time.
Unless they fight to a draw.
Mike, why'd you do that?
I mean, how are we treating no contests? If like after the fact somebody pops for something illegal, then does this still play into your narrative, AK? I mean, there's room here.
Neither man has ever gone winless in 2 straight UFC fights.
That's the soundbite. That's how you get fans in the stands right there.
That was catchy. Right? But come on. Listen, I was in the midst of writing sort of my predictions before we started doing the show. And that is what I hope you enjoyed that angle, because there's more of that when you see the written version of these predictions. All right. I'm just warning people. So if you didn't bite into that now, you're gonna have a lot to chew. You're not gonna have a lot to chew on when you read the predictions in Saturday morning.
Well, there you go. AK with a very interesting spin on this fight. Nice little factoid. Jed, you are the co-host of No Bets Barred with our friend Connor Burks, GC, who you may know from the MMA Hour, and also the No Bets Barred podcast.
You probably know more from the No Bets Barred podcast, if we're being honest.
Yes. I mean, just the highest rising show in MMA right now from a gambling perspective. But right now, according to our friends at DraftKings, Alexander Volkov is a -160 favorite. Comeback on Jairzinho Rozenstruik, +140. I got to say, I don't see a lot of people on the underdog Jairzinho Rozenstruik here. Is there value at +140 for the underdog Jairzinho Rozenstruik against the tall, lanky, probably more skilled Alexander Volkov.
Oh, I don't know if I'd call him more skilled. That's maybe, who can say, honestly. I'm sort of on him. I think it's not, this fight's close to a coin flip. So if you're betting it, I would say that Rozenstruik's a better side to be on, but I don't think you should bet this fight straight. I said on No Bets Barred, I said in my gambling column, which just went live as we went live, actually. Uh, why bet Jairzinho Rozenstruik straight up when you can bet him by KO? Because here's a fact for you, AK. You know what Jairzinho Rozenstruik has never done in the UFC? He's never won by anything other than a knockout. He has knocked out everybody he's fought inside the UFC, and in fact, he only has one non-KO win in his career. So you're just getting extra points of value, and I don't think he's going to win a decision over Volkov, and I'll cut off my own foot if he submits Volkov somehow. So just bet him by KO, and instead of getting that number at plus 140, you're getting functionally Rozenstruik at plus 200, and that's a very nice line for a guy who I think has at least close to a 50% chance to win this fight. Like, the Volkov fight against Aspinall gives me questions, man. Because yeah, Tommy Aspinall's a rocket ship and he's great, but he looked so much faster than Alexander Volkov. It was honestly shocking, and I don't think of Tom Aspinall as a slow fighter by any means, but they were on two different wavelengths entirely. And Rozenstruik's a pretty good athlete. Rozenstruik's like a weird mix of Cyril Gahn and Derek Lewis. And both of those guys beat Alexander Volkov. And so, I don't know. I just think he's got a really good chance to win. I would take him straight. I'm picking him to win the fight outright. And I would certainly take him at these underdog odds, and especially because you can get him by KO prop for even more value.
Stylistically, AK, what stands out to you about this fight? Because a lot of people look at it as if Volkov could stay at range and not get suckered into Jairzinho just going all out and sort of blitzing in and landing those hooks that he likes to land that finishes fights pretty quickly, that he should cruise to a decision here. And if anybody finishes, it's going to be Jairzinho going in with those blitzes, with those counters, making his moments count to get a finish here. Do you view it the same way? Is there something that stands out stylistically in this fight that you have your eye on here?
I am scared, Mike. I am scared that I know I've hyped up this main event, but it could be a pretty tactical, slow-paced battle. I do kind of agree that Jairzinho's best bet is to win by knockout. I just don't know if that's going to happen in the first 2 minutes or even in the first 3 rounds. As I mentioned, listen, if I'm aware of what's on the line, you don't think there's a lot of anxiety there for Jairzinho not wanting to lose his second straight fight, or for Volkov not wanting to lose his second straight fight for the first time in the UFC. They're aware of the stakes. All right, they have the same angle of this, looking at this fight, as I do. Okay, so I'm very scared it'll be a cautious battle. I think I'm not supposed to be the prince of positivity. I'm a little worried this one's going to go to a decision. I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks that. And gosh, I will. We'll talk about winner in a second. I actually haven't quite made my pick yet, so I'll be making that pick live as we speak.
Fight goes to a decision, plus 110. I would also say, we mentioned this on No Bets Barred, if you want to bet Alexander Volkov, I would personally say that Volkov by decision is a better bet than Volkov straight, because I don't think he's submitting Rozenstruik, and I don't really think he's finishing him either. So get him by decision. That's plus money instead of laying some juice as a favorite.
It's a very good point. We talked about how the stakes for the winner may not be much. You're probably just cementing the spot you're already in. It's chaos at the top of this division right now because we don't know what's going on with Francis Ngannou. We know he's hurt. We don't know if he's ever going to fight in the UFC again. We're waiting on John Jones. We're waiting on Stipe to see if something might happen there. And then we have some big fights up the top coming up over the next few months. So who needs this one more, Jed? Like, who needs a win here more? Because a win doesn't do a whole hell of a lot, but a loss hurts in a big way, considering we have some serious contenders on the come up: Alexander Romanov, Jailton Almeida, etc.
I don't think either of them needs a win more. I think they both really, really need the win. Like, they both really need this win, because I think a loss here is the end of title aspirations for either guy. I don't know how real either man's title aspirations are, given what we've seen of them and kind of where their pretty clearly defined ceilings are, but they still exist to some extent right now. But a loss here, and I think that's done. So, assuming that both men would like to one day challenge for the title, I think they need this equally as badly, and it is equally as dreadful for either man to lose as far as their long-term career prospects go.
All right, let's make our picks here, AK.
Can I mention the poll? Can I mention the poll?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The poll that I actually did properly, not the first poll that was asked nothing and ended with 0% in both polls. Simply, who wins the main event? Right now, Alexander Volkov leading 57%, Jairzinho 29%. And I want to put another option there, the fans, and it is not going well. The fans is at 14%. Fans are not expecting to have a good time. Not expecting to have a good time. I don't know if Casey threw this comment up there, but Craze said, I voted fans because we'll get such a deep sleep, which is just, come on now. That's
no, that would be a good thing, except for this fight's going to happen at 7, so you don't want to be going to sleep at 7. If this was the normal thing, we had 14 fights that start at 6 p.m. or whatever, great. I'm going to get a solid 10 hours. But nope, it's at 7 p.m.
Hey, listen, maybe we'll go to a split decision. We'll argue about whether or not open scoring should be instituted inside the major events, but we're not going to go there right now.
I'm going to go lay down in traffic.
Okay. AK, let's get your prediction here. Gave you a few extra minutes. You got to reveal the current results of the poll that actually worked. Who gets their hand raised tomorrow? Will it be Alexander Volkov or will it be Jairzinho Rozenstruik?
Yeah, let's get weird. Let's say Rozenstruik finds the KO. All right, I'm picking chaos. I think obviously my first instinct is I see Volkov's a bit more well-rounded, more experienced. He's been, which is why I assume he's the favorite. What did you say he was?
He is
minus
the favorite.
160, minus 160,
like minus 160.
Yeah, that's a very fair line. That's a very fair line. But that's not enough for me to think, at least for myself, that's not enough for me to think that Jairzinho doesn't have ways to win this fight. Let's say something weird happens. Let's say Jairzinho. Let's go against what I like my most pessimistic prediction. Let's go full optimism, full entertainment. Jairzinho again. He knows his back is not against the wall, but it's brushing lightly against the wall, and comes out firing and gets himself a first round knockout. I was going to say submissions because I want Jed to have to cut off his foot, but I don't think that's a reasonable prediction. So let's go first round KO, Jairzinho. Screw it.
I don't think that's a reasonable. You're right. It wouldn't be a reasonable prediction.
First round KO for Jairzinho. Jed, you're picking Jairzinho, or do you have a round? Do you have a certain thing that you have playing out in your mind of how this fight actually ends? What are you thinking in terms of how this fight ends?
I have him by third round KO largely because it was just like, why not? Derek Lewis did it. That seems like a good round to go for. But this is a very weird narrative that Volkov is just like a much better fighter than him. I think he probably is a slightly better fighter, and he can kind of take people down ish every once in a blue moon. But Jairzinho Rozenstruik, he's not a heroic striker by any means, but this dude has a pretty long history in kickboxing. And Volkov is probably just going to kickbox with him. I think he can probably just win a straight up fight with Volkov on the feet, especially because I think he's more powerful and he can kick the legs a bunch. And I think Volkov might be on the downside of his career. He's been fighting for a really long time. So I'm just going to assume that eventually he's really athletic and he hits very hard. And Volkov has struggled with both of those things before, especially with someone with a little bit more craft than some of the other guys that he has managed to do his, I'm going to call it a cardio kickboxing game, even though it's slightly more dangerous than a cardio kickboxing game. But yeah, I'm taking Rozenstruik by KO in the third.
I thought about this fight. I thought the lines were kind of, there is value on Rozenstruik because, like Jed said, I think that this is a closer fight than the betting odds indicate, and this is a closer fight than I've seen a lot of people on Twitter sort of advocate for. I think a lot of people think Volkov's just going to pick him apart for 25 minutes, and I think one thing that sort of factors in, and I know you can kind of use this example against me because we saw him fight Cyril Gane and it didn't go very well. It wasn't all that thrilling of a fight, but this is the small cage. This is the small cage. And I think Jairzinho Rozenstruik learned a lot. And I don't think Volkov can do the types of things that Cyril Gane did. I don't know if Volkov can hold Jairzinho against the fence for 25 minutes and just sort of grind out a decision that way. I think there's going to be a lot of striking. I don't see a lot of takedowns in this fight. And I think eventually, I just think 25 minutes is a very long time for a fight that's going to take place on the feet for like 90% of it. Rozenstruik just needs to land a couple of big shots and this thing could be over. So to me, I think there is value on Jairzinho Rozenstruik from a betting perspective. And with that said, I think Jairzinho is going to be a lot more aggressive here. I think he has to be a lot more aggressive here. I think he needs to win this one. I actually think he needs this one more than Volkov does. I think if Volkov, I think the loser of this fight is going to get fed to Romanov, and that's just not fun for anybody. But I think there's a little more upside to Jairzinho right now. So give me Jairzinho. I'm going to go right in the middle with a second round KO. Gets it done. Maybe has a tough first round, but bounces back. Maybe has a Derek Lewis-esque second round and gets it done. All three of us go with the dog here.
Wow, a sweep for Jairzinho. And this means Alexander Volkov, unbelievably, will lose 2 straight fights in the UFC if we're right. You know, Jed, we just did that bold predictions for the second half of 2022 podcast. I can't believe none of us said Volkov is going to have his first UFC losing streak. Maybe it was too bold. I think we just thought, oh, well, that's not going to happen.
Well, you know, he's also, lest we forget, the Helwani dog of the week as well. So, I mean, a lot of late steam coming in on Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Dang. All right.
I mean, see, here we go. A lot of people are going to disagree with us, and that's fine. That's why we have the fights, and that's it. But I feel small cage. I feel like Jairzinho, if he's just aggressive, he has a really good chance to win this fight. And if he stays in Volkov's range and just keeps getting kicked in the body all night, that's going to be a big problem. But I just don't think that's the game plan here to have a range kickboxing fight. That's craziness. That's Volkov's best path to victory. And Jairzinho's been in those positions before. I just don't see it happening again in this circumstance. So we were kind of bold with the main event pick. Will we be as bold, if not bolder, with the co-main event? Because we have the wily, very durable veteran, the exciting dynamite Dan Ige, or 50K Ige, however you want to call him. Both of those nicknames fit, taking on the undefeated rising featherweight contender Movsar Evloev. This is the fight I think everyone's got circled right now in terms of actual fight and intrigue and where these guys could go. I think there's a lot of excitement around Evloev, and Dan Ige is a difficult out. He's been in these spots before and has come through. AK, your thoughts on this co-main event? I think all of us have been pretty high on Evloev, and Dan Ige is a very difficult test. He's a very durable guy, and he's going to give Evloev everything he's got. So your thoughts on the matchup in this co-main? Is this a co-main event on top of that?
Of course. It features 2 fighters ranked in the actual MMA fighting global rankings, top 15. I believe it's Ige at 13, Evloev at 14. By the way, guys, that's the main event and the co-main event. Both feature fighters that are 1 spot apart in our rankings. I think that indicates that we kind of know what we're talking about as far as how it should lead to logical matchmaking. So kudos to us for gauging these talents properly so far, even though we're not always in agreement of where they are in the rankings. But I'm so high on Evloev. Earlier, the rankings show this week, we did a little bit where we said we took 4 featherweight. We took a bunch of contenders from different divisions. Featherweight was one of them. Featherweight, we had to take 4 names. It was including Bryce Mitchell, Arnold Allen, Topuria, and Movsar Evloev, and kind of figured out which one of these is kind of a pretender as far as contenders go. Which one of these guys is almost guaranteed to fight for a title someday. Most of us leaned towards Topuria, but Evloev was kind of like right there. It was just so close. And if they had fought,
I had Arnold Allen.
You had Arnold Allen. You are a big Arnold Allen guy. You have him in your.
Most of us.
You have.
I think 2 people took Topuria.
3 out of 4.
Was it 3 that took Topuria?
But you must have had Evloev as like your second highest.
I had it Allen, Evloev, Topuria, then Bryce Mitchell.
Oh wait, someone's telling me Evloev. That's not how you. No, I'm going with how I say it. So Evloev. Most of us are pretty confident. I didn't have him any lower than like saying like he's gonna at least be a top 5 guy, maybe fight, own an interim title someday, and for good reason. And I wish he had fought Topuria as they were booked to do so a few months ago. Certainly would have answered some questions. But this is another very good logical test. I think that I'll give the matchmakers a lot of credit. That they're moving on from that matchup now and instead giving him a more established UFC name in Dan Ige, a guy who has been in the top 10, top 12, kind of lingering around there for quite some time. And I don't think there's like I'm sure Dan Ige wouldn't want to look at it this way, but he has kind of settled into that gatekeeper role, that top 10 gatekeeper role, and there's no shame in that. Does that mean that this is a walkover for Movsar Evloev? Absolutely not. I think Evloev is going to be tested, but this is the kind of test you want to see him have at this point in his career. Win or lose. You know what? Maybe he loses. Either way, whatever happens to him, I don't think it's going to diminish what we think of him by the end of the night. I am predicting an Evloev win. I'll go decision. I think Ige is really tough to put away, but I think Evloev's game is just so all around, so complete. I think at this point, like physically, he's in his prime, and it's just a super exciting prospect. And I expect him to make a statement, which is why I think this matchup was put together.
Jed, your thoughts on this matchup, this co-main event? You're very high on Evloev, and if memory serves you correctly, no bets barred. You feel this is going to be one-way traffic for the youngster.
Yeah, I think this is great matchmaking because the outcome should be very predetermined, and it moves Evloev up into that kind of top 10 area of the division and lets him start building a resume to challenge for a title. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about Dan Ige, but the numbers, I know Casey's not a huge numbers guy, so I will also anecdotally answer this. Dan Ige is not very good at stopping takedowns, and you know what Movsar Evloev is really good at? Evloev is really good at taking people down and running them on the floor. The Dan Ige gave up takedowns, like repeated takedowns, to stalwart wrestler Chan Sung Jung, a man who is often just known for his D1 credentials. So I suspect Movsar Evloev is going to just absolutely rinse Dan Ige. I think he's going to take him down and just control him for 15. Because, I mean, as AK said, Dan Ige, extremely durable. He's never been finished in his career, and Evloev's never finished anybody in the UFC. This seems like the most obvious Evloev by decision. And so that's where I'm at. I have bets down on that, and I feel pretty good about it, frankly.
Hey, listen, I get where you're coming from. I think this is going to be a closer fight than people think. I think Ige is going to be in there. I think Ige might even have Evloev in trouble for a moment or two in this fight, landing a big shot and getting him on his heels a little bit. This is definitely the biggest test in Evloev's career thus far. So I do like the matchup in that sense. I'm with you, Jed. I am going Evloev, but I don't think this is like a 30-26. I don't feel like when Bryce Mitchell fought Edson Barbosa, I felt very confident that Bryce Mitchell was going to go in there in 30-24 Edson Barbosa. Like I had no doubts. I felt very confident about that. I don't feel as confident here that we'll see that type of one-sided win, but I do favor Evloev to win a decision. AK, your thoughts? How are you picking this one?
Yeah, like I said, Evloev on the scorecards, and I think it will be a pretty definitive performance, and not the kind that has us going like, oh well, Dan Ige, isn't on his level. I think in a way that it impresses so much that we'll be speaking more positively about Movsar's performance than we will about any like shortcomings from Dan Ige. Oh, he's just a gatekeeper and all that. No, I think we'll see a really, if not the best version, like the really high level version of Dan Ige, and I think Evloev will still excel against that quality of opponent. So as people can tell, I'm very excited for this matchup. Yeah, I loved the matchmaking, as Jed said. I think they did a great job with it. I think Ige will have many other good fights after this one. I just think it's definitely going to be Evloev's night, and I think we'll be talking about a lot more in the next ranking show. Let me put it that way. I know it's a month away now until our next rankings cycle, but he will be making a big impact in the featherweight rankings. So I do wonder where he's going to land in a lot of people's personal rankings after Saturday night.
Yeah, he's gonna grow from this fight no matter what, Evloev, and this is the right sort of path for him to take to move on to that level.
You don't even have him in your rankings.
Do you not have him in your rankings? He's not. Let me look. I don't think he's personally in my top 15 yet.
You don't.
I'll look.
Mike, you do. Good man.
But let me defend it. Let me defend it.
He doesn't have the mark he went.
Well, look, that's my thing for a lot of people. Like, if you say a lot of our rankings, you'd be like, why isn't this person in the top 15? And it's like, I'll say, they need the marquee win. They need to beat a ranked guy. That isn't always the case. Like, obviously, Arnold Allen is in there because, he's just won 9 fights in a row. Look, he's going to take so holding down my 15 spot is Khabulaev, the PFL champion, and he's not competing this year. And he won't be automatically removed until, like, until like next year. I think most of us are just gonna have to take him out at some point. We know he's not competing this season. He's got an injury,
Yeah,
so
I probably should pull him for mine.
Well, I mean, but he is very good. He is very good. It's a shame that he's not coming back to defend.
I know
He's
I
just
have
not
him
able to
10.
finish. Yeah. And then I have also Barbosa and Mitchell, who I think fairly I would put above Evloev now. I could see an argument for Evloev above Barbosa, of course, but I definitely hang on to my veterans. I give a lot of respect to veterans until they drop down. But yeah, I'm expecting him to enter my rankings for sure.
The betting community is agreeing with you right now. Minus 400, the line on Movsar Evloev, Dan Ige, the plus 300 underdog here. Rest of the main card, I mean, we have those two fights. We have Mike Trezano, Lucas Almeida. We got Poliana Botelho versus Karine Silva. Ode Osborne versus Zaruk Adashev, which could actually be a pretty fun fight. And we have the main event, the people's main event, if we're being honest. Alonzo Menafield
on the card
versus Askar Mozharov. Now, BTL, we laid this out. Heck of a morning. We expounded upon it even further. Jed, I will allow you to open the door here. Why is this fight so interesting now? This fight wasn't, I mean, it was just there. It got bumped up to the main card, I believe. I believe this is the one that got bumped. Oh no, was it always there?
The Ode Osborne fight's the one that got swapped with the strawweight, the Herrig Kovalevich fight. That got swapped.
Why
so
is
this
this
always
the most
a main card fight
on the card? Why is this the best one?
Because MMA is a stupid sport, and this is awesome. So if you haven't listened to anything from us this week, or you haven't been on the internet streets of MMA, Askar Mozharov is incredible, and if you've been paying attention to like Tapology, you'll have noticed that his record keeps changing. And I think at the start of the week he had
26-7.
Yeah, I would say he had like 26-7. His record is now 19-12. And if you're asking yourself, how does that happen on fight week? Well, go to SureDog. Jay Petrie did a write-up on the Fight Finder files where he basically outlines how Mozharov has repeatedly and apparently successfully defrauded the people about his record with fraudulent wins, trying to get losses expunged from his record, even though they actually happened. And he did this so successfully that he's found his way into the UFC, apparently. And on fight week, he has had 8 wins disappear from his record. So this is incredible. It's my favorite thing. Honestly, I think it's my favorite story that's happened this year. Especially his last 4 fights have all finished in like 5 seconds or something. Like the combined fight time is, I think, less than a minute or some absurdly low number like that. So this is just hysterically funny. At this point, no one can trust anything that is actually on his record as being valid. And he may or may not be a like competent fighter. We're going to, I guess, find out when he fights Alonzo Menafield. But this is awesome. And I desperately want him to win so we can ask him about all of this nonsense for a long, because if he loses, it's all just going to go away and be like, oh yeah, that dude's a fraud, and hey, he gamed the system, good for him. But if he wins, then this gets to be an ongoing story about his perpetual fraud, and it's the best. So this is the fight I am the most looking forward to this weekend. It's not even close.
Yes, I like where your head's at. I like everything about this. It's tremendous. He did sort of talk about it at his media day scrum, tried to explain it, saying that.
But that was before the heat really came down. Like before,
that was before he
really
went
got
under 20 wins. Yeah, now he's at 19 wins. He's 19. It's crazy how much his record has changed.
8 wins in the span of 4 days.
And I think he gained like 7 losses. Because I think at the beginning of the week he was like 25-7. Now he's 19-12.
So he gained 5 losses and lost 8 wins. Awesome. It's so, and like I said this yesterday, and it's still true. Like, we don't know if this is the stopping point. Like, because he is repeatedly just like, it wasn't like, ooh, he was at 27 and then he went. It was like he was at 27 and then he was at 24. And you can go listen to No Bets Barred, great podcast. You should listen to it. On that podcast, Connor and I are talking. He's like, that's weird. Mozharov was at like 24 wins and now he's at like 21. I don't know what happened. And we just kind of, because we didn't know the story and we blew past it. And then the next day he lost 2 more. So like by time he could be a 500 fighter, like that is in play and it's awesome.
And the
this has never
UFC
happened.
on their website has him. Yeah. They have a 19 and 12. So they're going with
this is
they
the sites here.
they updated it. They updated
did.
it
They
because
did.
he was
So
at
he
was at 0-0 yesterday. On their website,
No,
they had him as they had his record as 0-0-0.
Yeah, this has never happened during UFC Fight Week. Apparently, again, they really crossed. I think you mentioned Jay Petrie and Sherdog. The article, by the way, is from a series called the FF Files, and the article's called "It's All Been a Pack of Lies." Now, if you're in the media and you're going to go with the headline like that, you got to feel real strongly about this. And I definitely recommend people read this on Sherdog.com. And it is really funny because, as Jed said, it's hilarious in multiple ways. Much of which is because the wounds to Morzov's record are like self-inflicted because they kept like needling Sherdog, like, hey, you shouldn't do this, like you give us this win back.
Ways.
Yeah, they were sending like threats, they were sending messages from fake accounts saying like, oh, I'm an official with this promotion that he fought for, I assure you this fight was legit.
Full Metal Dojo. It's not even a fake promotion, it's Full Metal Dojo.
And it just made them it made the Sherdog team dig further and further and further. And as Jed said, take away wins, add on losses, verify these things. So it's really crazy. But yeah, listen, this guy could be as real as like Iranian Hulk. You know what I mean? Like we could see, I mean, at least I saw him at the scale. At least he did look like a professional athlete. Like he looks like a human being that exists. But fight-wise, I don't think we've ever covered him in Misfits before. I was trying to look. I'm like, I don't think he's even, which is crazy with his record. You think with supposedly all these like crazy finishes,
I feel like we had
like we
had that 8-second bare knuckle KO somewhere.
Maybe.
I feel like
Maybe.
that 8-second bare knuckle. I feel like I've seen the 8-second.
Sounds familiar. Sounds familiar.
This is awesome. Everything about this is great.
Story.
And if Alonzo Menafield fights like the dude, like in his first like 2 or 3 UFC fights, this fight is going to be awesome because Mozharov, like as Jed likes to say, he's a get or get got guy, like the definition of it. And if Alonzo goes after him like he did in his first couple fights, like pre-William Knight, boy, oh boy, this will be a fun one. These two are just going to throw absolute hammers at each other until somebody falls. But
don't you just have to go after him? Like, isn't that, you just have to assume that he's entirely fraudulent and can't fight a lick. And so you just got to go like, that's what I would if I was in his corner. Be like, I don't know, man. Nobody who is actually a real fighter would be this focused on defrauding people. Like, just go swing. Just go swing. You're probably going to put him down. That would be this fight. Everything about this is my favorite. I'm so excited.
Yes. So before we go to the peeps, we're not going to do a low-key banger because I feel like pretty much every fight on this card is a low-key banger.
That's the low-key banger for me. It's not close. Johnny Munoz, Tony Gravely could be fun.
I was going to say, shout outs to that. That's a great bantamweight matchup.
It's a really good fight. It's a really good fight. That's actually one of the very few fights on this card that I will call a very good fight.
Yeah. Fight of the night, AK. What wins fight of the night?
Well, I think Damon Jackson Argueta has a chance too. I like both those guys. I like Damon Jackson a lot. Damon Jackson is I think always has the potential to be exciting. And Argueta, yeah, a bit of a, he's a newcomer. I liked him on The Ultimate Fighter. He didn't do great in the show, but he lost the eventual winner, Ricky Tercio. So maybe with a different matchup, he could have gone further. So I like him a lot. I think that's definitely a sleeper. I'm trying to think one from the main card. I'm gonna go with the prelim. I think we will get it will be a prelim. It'll be either the Damon Jackson Argueta fight or the Munoz Tony Gravely fight. I feel pretty confident about that.
Jed?
Ooh, it's really tough. I honestly, like, not even as a joke, I think there's a really good chance Minifield Mozharov is it, just because I think those two dudes are just gonna come and chuck them. And there's actually not a lot of just chucking it on this fight card. But just because I don't want to do that, I'll say Joe Selecki, Alex De Silva, because that could be ugly fun.
Yeah, I want to say Mozharov gets double bonuses. Like, I just want to say that so bad. Like, they have the fight of the night, but then he gets the KO in the first round and gets the performance of the night too. That would just be the best story. Oh my gosh, what a lead into 275. But
I'm
like.
rooting
I mean,
for
there's a
this
lot
guy.
to like here. There's a lot of options. I think Jeff Molina, Zalga Zumagulov could be a lot of fun. It just depends. Like Jeff just likes to get in absolute wars, and I think he's the better fighter here. But if he just wants to get into a war with this guy, it just could be a lot of fun. But if he wants to get him out of there quickly, kind of like we saw in his second UFC fight, that could very well happen as well. So it all just kind of depends on what Jeff wants. Yeah, and Ode Osborne's Zaruk Adashev could be a fun one as well, because Adashev's just such a mystery.
I think he sucks, but I can't be sure. Like
he was a different dude in his
he was an
last
entirely
fight,
different fighter. He was an entirely different fighter against Ryan Benoit. And so he sucked all the way until he fought Ryan Benoit, and then he's like actually pretty decent. And so I have no idea if he's good or not. I don't know if that was just like if something clicked and he figured it out, or if he'd been sandbagging. Like, I don't know. I don't have any concept on what that man does. If he's good, that fight is probably actually going to be the fight of the night. But if he sucks, Ode Osborne's just going to beat him over the head and we're going to be done. I just don't know which of the two is true.
We'll find out. See, we've added so much intrigue to this card from the beginning of this thing. Let's go to the peeps, and maybe the people can add some more intrigue to this. We'll take a few questions. There's Casey.
Hello,
Casey.
You have sleeves on.
I know. You got me subconscious yesterday after.
Why? I was noting the guns that I would never wear sleeves either if I was 30-24.
I did have a sleeveless shirt earlier than the last second. I was like, you know what? I'm either long sleeves or no sleeves. I don't like in betweens.
I mean, yeah.
No half measures. All right.
No such thing as halfway crooks.
Hey.
Excellent.
Here we go. Oops. Ooh, let me get that a little bigger.
Rozenstruik versus Volkov is the most boring possible high-level heavyweight fight out there. Listen, there have been some heavyweighty made events. There have been far worse than this one, Jed, right?
Oh yeah, man. Look, this is one. Jairzinho Rozenstruik is mostly a fun fighter. Like, he's getting a lot of flack. Even when he loses, like, sure, well, the Curtis Blades, like, that's a Curtis Blades problem, not so much a Jairzinho Rozenstruik problem. And the Cyril Gane fight was just a really bad style, but like, it was incredibly fun to watch Francis Ngannou. I've watched that clip probably more than any KO in the last 5 years because it's hilarious. And so, like, he's catching a lot of flack. Now, Volkov, that's fair. I think Volkov can be exciting, but like, we already saw Alexander Volkov fight Marcin Tybura, and so I don't know. That's a pretty high level heavyweight fight, and I don't need to see them fight again, but they probably will at some point because that's how heavyweight works.
Is Volkov probably the highest ranked but least exciting heavyweight in recent memory? I guess maybe, like, just like, he's clearly very good, but like, I'm just never interested in watching him.
Your mileage varies with Curtis Blades. I think most people would say Curtis Blades, though. I think Curtis Blades is very good. I won't stand on the hill that he's exciting, though. That's a take even for me.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this question meant UFC only because we literally just saw Ryan Bader versus Cheick Kongo 2.
That wasn't high level. He said he does stipulate high level.
That's a championship fight, brother. That's a championship
fight.
Cheick
Kongo have victories over one of these gentlemen?
Cheick Kongo's in this fight. He does, but that was also like a decade ago.
Every Cheick Kongo fight is a decade ago.
Yeah. And Cheick Kongo isn't even in his prime yet, so...
I agree. It all was a decade ago. I'm not saying that Fedor fighting in the year of our Lord 2022 is high-level MMA either. It just is what it is.
That was a championship rematch that headlined a show recently. I consider that high level. So I will say this. To this question, affirm no.
We have very different definitions of high level.
Affirm no.
Bader beats both these gentlemen.
Yeah, right. There we go.
I am not as confident in that. I mean, he probably beats Rozenstruik. I'm not as confident he beats Volkov, though he certainly could.
No Ryan Bader disrespect here.
We have Bader at 10. Oh, we have him behind. Oh, we do actually have him behind Volkov. Well, one behind. So we have Volkov 8, Rozenstruik 9, Bader at 10 in our rankings. Yeah. That sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah, I agree.
I even had to rank Bader because of that stupid Cheick Kongo win.
You had to. Yeah, you couldn't take him out.
Heavyweight is such
Dominant.
a garbage division.
Dominant. 50-45, baby. 50-45.
Heavyweight is so bad.
Yeah, I do have Bader one spot behind Volkov. Yeah, but ahead of Rozenstruik.
I don't want to go on a big digression. Did you guys see Cormier putting heavyweight in his top 5 like divisions? He was like top 5 best divisions, but heavyweight in there.
I respect it. That's how you get to the Skip Bayless position.
That is That's
how you get the.
It had the nice ESPN logo next to it. I'm like, yeah, this is a very ESPN-y list. Like he knows. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Heavyweight is literally it's bottom 3.
Has to be.
For sure. Undeniably bottom 3. I guess bottom 4 if you want to count women's featherweight as division. But
there you go.
Is the problem with this fight is it that it's the main event? If this was just a fight, or maybe the co-main event, would it be?
Yes, this would be a fine co-main event.
Yeah, I think both guys coming off. Yeah.
The problem is that it has almost no stakes because, as we talked about, the winner gets nothing from this in a division that's not really going anywhere because the champion's probably not ever returning to the organization, and an interim title fight between two dudes who haven't fought in a year is in play. Like, there's just nothing to hang, and it's 25 minutes of what may be sucking. Like, this is just nothing to hang your hat on here.
Oh,
avoiding two straight losses.
You're trying it, Kay, and I respect your ability to promote.
Yeah, we're all talking about it.
You just said I totally forgot about the 25-minute thing. God dang it! Like this card may end early, but it won't feel like it ends early. I feel like
I would be a liar if I didn't say that at least part of my prediction of Rozenstruik in the third is probably because I really just don't want to fathom 25 minutes of this fight. So I'm like, small cage. Yeah. Jairzinho just swings a hammer and gets the job done. That's great. That's all we need.
I think that informed all of our picks, if I'm being honest.
I have dinner plans. Third round knockout. All
right. You guys think Dan Ige will get? Absolutely not. Dan Ige could. There are a lot of, because Dan's still a good fighter. Like, there are a lot of people who thought he beat Josh Emmett in his last fight. There's a lot of go to MMA decisions. It's split down the middle.
Fun.
Mm-hmm. He is very fun. The fight with Calvin Kattar was a great fight. The TKZ fight was a little different because TKZ wrestled, and I don't think anybody saw that coming. And before that, Dan had an incredible knockout of Gavin Tucker just out of nowhere when Gavin was on his way up, coming off a tremendous performance heading into that fight. So they were putting Gavin Tucker in the same kind of position they're putting Evloev in right now, and Dan knocked him out in like 16 seconds. So Dan's an exciting guy, and you know what's good about Dan Ige that the UFC likes? He says yes to everything.
I would say
there's other guys in this division who are not taking
this
fight.
Doesn't rock the boat. My man does not rock the boat.
This is true. Yeah. He's taking the fight that I'm assuming many other featherweights passed on. I would assume.
Yeah.
So hopefully it would be 3 straight losses if he loses, and it'll be his first loss against really an unranked fighter, at least in my rankings. Not that Movsar isn't going to be eventually a highly ranked fighter. He's just not there yet.
The UFC has him ranked at 13. So from the UFC's perspective, that won't even that just won't be a big deal even.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Yeah, I do agree. But I think it's fair to ask, but I think Dan Ige is good. Yeah.
Dan Ige is the kind of guy you want to build a company with. You want a bunch of Dan Iges in your company, in your promotion.
For sure. And I think he's gonna fight his ass off. I think he's gonna have moments in this fight. I don't think he's just gonna get completely steamrolled. I think he's gonna have moments. He's gonna make this a somewhat competitive fight, more competitive than the betting lines and most other people are giving him credit for. But I do think Evloev will win. I just think the wrestling and the takedowns, he does that so well. But I think Ige is going to land some shots in this fight, and it's going to make things interesting.
And even if Ige gets totally just blown out, I think it's going to be one of those fights where we're going to be going, whoa, look how good Evloev.
Movsar.
His opponent. Movsar, I think it's been one of those fights where we're really talking up his opponent rather than, man, Dan Ige has lost a step. I think it's one of those fights. So Dan Ige is good. If he wins, he wins. Great. Where are we? I just like this comment.
Greg Hardy versus Volkov is the first fight I showed.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was
Dreadful.
not
Dreadful.
Yeah, that happened.
I mean, I like
did
it.
happen.
We don't need more people in this community. Who needs more MMA fans, right? Just show them that, and we're good.
We're good. Let's talk about the curtain jerker.
Oh, you mean arguably the best fight in the entire card?
Arguably, yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it. I knew the peeps would. First fight of the night, Erin Blanchfield taking on JJ Aldridge. This is a really good fight. I'm curious what the betting lines are in this one.
Blanchfield is the biggest favorite on the card. I think she's
she
tied
really?
with somebody.
Minus 475.
No, because Damon Jackson continues to get steamed up. Holy
minus
hell.
675 for Damon Jackson. So
wow.
He opened at like minus 200.
You know what, Dan? I should have mentioned this before, and I said I was looking forward to this fight though. Dan Argueta is way smaller than him. He is not a featherweight.
Sure.
He is not a featherweight.
He's
so size shouldn't matter. He looked tiny. He's tiny compared to him. Yeah.
But this number has moved so much.
It's a little crazy.
Much. It is.
I don't know if Damon Jackson should be that favorite against anyone. And I
he
say
opened
that
at minus 200.
Jackson's really good.
He opened at minus 200 and has been steamed to minus 6, whatever it is.
That's crazy.
675. Yeah. And that a lot of that even came in late because when we recorded No Bets Barred, I think he and Blanchfield were the same. And I think Blanchfield has hung about minus 475, something in that the whole time. Maybe she was up to minus 500 at that point, but man,
yeah, that line dropped a little bit. Yeah. So how dominant will Erin Blanchfield win tomorrow? Is this? I'm sure. I think all of us are picking Erin, but I think we all expect JJ to put up a pretty good fight here. I think JJ is a good fighter. She is a good fighter. She's a tough out for a lot of these gals, but we are all very high on Erin Blanchfield, and we see a very, very, very high ceiling for her. So will this be Erin Blanchfield running over JJ Aldridge tomorrow, AK, or is this a little more competitive than the betting lines suggest?
I have to imagine it's going to be competitive. I mean, I know JJ Aldridge doesn't jump off the page for a lot of people. She's fought in the UFC 10 times, and she's 7-3. It's not like she just hangs around. They just throw her in there with one. But she's 7-3, and she's beaten some good people. I think a lot of people will point to her fight with Maycee Barber, which was a little disappointing. I think that might be probably one of her worst performances. And, that was the last time she was up against a super high prospect, and Maycee Barber lived up to the hype. So I get it. People might be looking at that and saying, well, Erin Blanchfield's even better than Maycee Barber. So, doing some MMA math. But I think I don't think you can look at it that way. I think Maycee Barber and Erin Blanchfield are very, very different fighters, have very, very different approaches to how they'll fight JJ Aldridge. I am picking Blanchfield, but I cannot stress enough to people, like, I guess it's fair to say I have not been as bullish on her prospects as other people. And this isn't because I'm unaware of who Erin Blanchfield is. If anyone knows, I interviewed her twice, I think, before she came to the UFC. So I've always been like super high on her. But she's 23 years old. She's in a division that I think is better than people give it credit for. I always say the women's 125 is actually a pretty strong division. Yeah. I don't know why people think like all these prospects that are coming up are just going to run through it.
Because Valentina. That's why.
Because Val's exactly. The champion at the top is so dominant that
it's the same thing we used to say about flyweight. Like,
sure,
flyweight has always been an awesome division, and everyone's like, "Oh no, Demetrius Johnson's wins are garbage compared to John Jones." Like, actually, light heavyweight sucks ass, and flyweight rules.
Yeah,
DJ's beating Joseph Benavidez and these fun people, and John Jones fighting like 6 middleweights. It's not a fun division, but it's just when you have a dominant person, it makes the rest of the division seem diminished.
Yeah, which is understandable. That's not like a crazy perspective to have. That's understandable.
Well, and the UFC bearing fighters like Erin Blanchfield on a card like this, rather than
I don't understand.
It's bad. It's bad.
So
it's not fun to be it's good to be the main card opener, but to be the prelim opener, that's like essentially saying like if you come late, you might miss this one, but don't worry about it. And like that's a terrible place to be in. I know we have streaming now. People can always go back and watch the fight, and if there's a highlight finish, people watch. I understand that, but there is a perception thing that the UFC kind of it needs to work on when it comes to prospects like this. But I'll say. Whether she has a dominant win or not, or whether she's upset by, again, I think a good fighter in JJ Aldridge, I don't want people to go crazy either way. I don't want, if she runs through Erin Blanchfield, I don't want people to go like, oh man, she's 2 fights away from Valentina, like she's a beat. And if she loses to JJ Aldridge, I don't want people saying, oh well, she was exposed and now she's not going to make it. The truth, she is 23 years old, guys. We do not even know what fighter she's going to. She's nowhere near being a finished product. So I tell both sides to kind of just cool your jets a little bit. As far as, is she a future champion? Is she just someone who's going to be like a decent, contender in the flyweight division for a long time? The truth's probably somewhere in between. So unless you have money, I mean, if you're betting on stuff, great, and you like legitimately have money invested in Erin Blanchfield, by all means, pump her tires. But I don't know. I don't see the need to like go all in or all out on Erin Blanchfield. Like I don't know why people need to do that. And of course, Mike, I'm still bitter over our pal Tristan calling me out on. And he's done this to me through direct messages too. So, but my whole thing is, hey, if you're a fan, that's great, but don't be disappointed if she loses, and don't be too super hyped up if she wins. We have a long way to go with the Erin Blanchfield story.
Right. Go ahead, Jed.
I disagree with everything AK said.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Have fun. If you want to believe that she is the next coming, that's great. You should do it, because I'm not that far off. And let me tell you, if we've talked about it on various other shows, that's how I live my life. And that's why my rankings, I have Movsar Evloev in the top 10. And I have on and out, and I think like 4 at featherweight.
Yeah, you have him very high.
And it's been a great year for me, as the people that I have kind of projected high have been delivering for me. My number 2 welterweight, coming off a fight of the year with Gilbert Burns, probably going to either compete for the belt by the end of this year, feels great. So it's okay to get on the bus early and, drive that train down the tracks, baby. It's fun. That's MMA is supposed to be fun. That's what fandom is. So don't pump your brakes. No brakes, all gas, baby. No brakes. Ride it until it hits the inevitable wall, and then you pick up the pieces and you keep moving on. That's what fandom is about. The only thing else I want to say on this fight, I understand that the UFC is bad at their job, and I say it all the time. They're really bad here because, sure, if you want to bury women's flyweight because whatever, that's fine. I mean, you shouldn't, but at least I can recognize that that's a position to have, and there's some validity to it. But how, in the name of all things holy, do you have this flyweight bout with the best prospect in the division, arguably, and it's the curtain jerker, but you have a women's flyweight fight on the main card that is not nearly as good? Like, no disrespect, Paulina Mattello or Corrine Silva. It is insane to me that fight is not the curtain jerker, and that Erin Blanchfield isn't on the main card. At least I don't know what we're doing here.
Hey, listen, can't argue with that. But if you're Erin Blanchfield, she's probably like, sweet. Like, I'm out of there by like 10:30 a.m. See ya. I'm gonna go in there, do my thing, get paid, and I could fly home.
Maybe when she
fly home, go straight to the Las Vegas airport, jump on a Southwest flight, get in an Uber, be home, and watch the main event.
No.
There you go.
Maybe she just hustles JJ Aldridge, and then like Karina Silva steps on a lead pipe or whatever dumb thing it was that Tony did,
yeah.
and then she just fights like, I'm here. You guys just want to do it? Let's go. That'd be the best.
Yep. All right. We'll take one more question. Another fight we did not talk about at all, but I think it deserves a little conversation.
I mean, come on, gentlemen. Let's get to the elephant in the room. Which losing streak continues, Herrig or Kowalkiewicz? So this is actually, this is the rematch nobody ever on planet Earth asked for. I don't even think Felice Herrig lost this fight, and I don't even think she was asking for this rematch. But we got it, and I'm glad Felice is back. She's recovered from some pretty bad injuries. Taking on Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who's moved teams, seems to be invigorated.
They fought, Casey, they fought in 2018,
4 years ago.
And a fun fact about this fight, neither woman has won since they fought 4 years ago. The last time Herrig won was the fight before that, and that was this is thus far the last win of Kowalkiewicz's career.
So Kowalkiewicz went to American Top Team. She's training with Joanna and some of the really good fighters over there. Felice Herrig has said recently that this is pretty much do or die for her. If she doesn't beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz tomorrow, it's a sign that tells her she needs to close the book on her career. So this could very well be a loser leaves town match one way or the other. But if Felice loses, she's hinting at, if I lose this fight, I'm done, and you may not see me again compete. So what's your pick, AK? Whose losing streak continues on? Will it be Felice Herrig's, or will it be Karolina Kowalkiewicz?
I'll go with Kovacevic for the win. I just think she's the better fighter. I just think it's gonna be a striking battle. I do consider her to be the better striker. Herrig is very scrappy. I mean, look, she can turn anything into she can make fights ugly, which has led her to a lot of success in the past. People forget before she was kind of in this slump. She had actually won 4 straight fights. That again, I know that feels like a long time ago, which it was. I mean, it was
because it was a long time ago.
Almost 4. Oh, sorry, over 4 years ago now. That happened. So. Yeah, I'm going Kovacevic. I think it'd actually be like a more fun fight than people expect because I do think Herrig, knowing that she's sort of near the end of her career, really both fighters probably. Herrig will be 38 in a few months, I believe, and Kovacevic will be 37. And that by no means is a death sentence for your career, but when they've been in the business as they have, I mean, Herrig, I don't know if I'd call her
2009, her first fight.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call her a pioneer of women's MMA, but she's of that next generation for sure. You know, she's not of like the Roxanne Modafferi. Well, did she fight before Roxanne or around the same time? Roxanne was before that. I had to be a few
Roxanne's
years
been fighting for my entire life, basically.
Right, yeah. So I don't know if Herrig is like in that first generation of women's MMA pioneers, but she's definitely
not first generation.
But she's definitely in that next generation.
She was fighting as a professional mixed martial artist before there was even a sniff of women in the UFC.
Yes. And someone who was making a name for herself outside before the UFC had women's fighters. She was in one of the video games. I remember she was the faces of one of the, I think the EA Sports video game. She was one of the faces of that video game, very heavily involved in promotion. She's doing very well outside of fighting. I know she was one of the first also to start doing like the OnlyFans or whatever it is she uses to share her content. She was one of the first to do that, and everyone saw how much money she was making. So she was definitely a pioneer in that regard as well. So she has options inside the UFC. I think she's going to want to have fun with this one. I think she is aware that win or lose, because she might win and decide I'm still hanging them up. She'll want to go on a high note, right? So I think it'll be entertaining. But I am going with Carolina. I just think she's a better fighter. I like the camp change. She does seem to be just sort of in a better headspace. I mean, some of her post-fight interviews or comments like after a couple of those losses were like super sad. It was getting sad watching Carolina fight. Like she just didn't seem to want to be. She didn't want to be in there, and she was in there with some dangerous people. Like we saw that with the Andrade fight. They're scary. Like that's one person you don't want to be anything less than 100% mentally against, because you get what happened to Carolina, one punch KO'd. So I like where she's coming from too. I think it's gonna be a really respectful contest and really classy. I think it'll be a nice moment. I'm kind of glad they put this as the prelim headliner, as it were. I think it gives it like a decent level of exposure, but not too much pressure on it to deliver. And whatever happens, like I said, I have a lot of respect for both these fighters. I think they just both accomplished a lot in their careers. Carolina challenged for a UFC title, which is great, and can say she knocked down Joanna. I mean, one of the few fighters who can say they did that. But yeah, I'm going with whatever happens with both fighters after. I'm going with Carolina to win this one.
Casey, who's your pick?
Carolina. Unless she's really fallen off, Carolina on her worst performance still should be the best Felice Herrig. And Felice Herrig is, I mean, I agree with everything AK said. Pioneer, she's been doing this for a long time, but Carolina is just a better fighter, and she should win. But I like the placement. I like the booking, and I like where it's placed on the card. So good luck with ladies.
Jed, you're going with Carolina. I heard this portion of No Bets Barred. Explain why, because I got a little bit of a chuckle out of it.
Because I don't understand what the hell the odds makers have done. And that's not me being me. That's like straight up. So far, 2 people have picked Carolina. I'm picking Carolina, as you said. So we're 3-0 on she is the underdog, although that line is closed to almost now.
Sorry, Carolina's the underdog?
Well, that line's closed to just about
still,
a pick 'em,
but wow.
She was a plus money underdog at like plus 140 or some dumb number, which didn't make any sense to me because these 2 women have fought before. Carolina won that fight. Neither woman has won since. Neither woman is different since. They're the same fighters because the cake is baked for both of them. Felice Herrig has been out for 2 years, which is also not strong. And Carolina just changed camps to, frankly, I think a much better place for her. I think moving to ATT, getting, MTB and kind of the rest of that team, getting the reps with Joanna. I think she seems reinvigorated in her career outside of what I think this is going to do for her tactically and technically. And so it just makes absolutely everything Casey said. I think she's just better fighter than Felice Herrig. And so I don't understand how she was the underdog in this fight. So I'm taking her to win. I have a bet on her by decision because for the exact same reasons, why would you take Jairzinho Rozenstruik to win when you could take him by KO? Kelina Kovalevich has like 2 stoppages in her life, and none of them came in the UFC. So yeah, I've got her winning a decision here. But I am going to change an earlier thing I said. I'm going to pick this as my fight of the night. I think AK is right. I think they're both going to be real scrappy, and this is going to be my fight of the night choice.
Yeah, I think this will be a fun one. I'm leaving Kovalevich as well, just because, Jed, you laid it out perfectly. They just fought. I mean, it's 4 years ago, but if you look at their timelines, it's not that long ago, and not much has changed since then, outside of injuries and just kind of pulling yourself out of that hole of, man, like, what do I need to do to win a fight? So I like the camp change. I know Felice has been really getting after the recovery and the rehab. She's really getting into wanted to make this walk. And I would not be shocked, even if she won this fight, if she said, I'm done. So she's probably going in there to leave it all in there. So I think it will be a fun fight. I actually had to go back and look because I don't remember the actual fight. I don't remember the first fight. I know it happened. I don't remember. I mean, that was the crazy. That was the Khabib Iaquinta week. That was the Dolly week. That was the craziest fight week of all time. And this fight was on that card.
Insane.
Like, we all watched that fight.
Yeah.
But don't
it was
remember.
a split decision. It was a split decision. I had to go to MMA decisions to be like,
Kovalevich
am I missing something here?
her up. I don't.
Yeah.
It was one of those splitties where, like, somebody did something that I didn't feel cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we have 3 judges type of decisions.
Every meet, I was like, oh, is this one of those things where I'm going to look at it and like half the media members chose Carolina and half chose Fleek? No, every single media member chose Karolina Kowalkiewicz, including our own Jed Meshew, who picked Karolina Kowalkiewicz 29-28. It was either 30-27 Carolina or 29-28. There was a split there. Half picked 29-28 Carolina, half picked 30-27 Carolina.
Maybe that was the confusion. Yeah.
She outlanded her by like 100 strikes or some dumb number. She obviously didn't lose 2 rounds, and I don't really know how that happened.
So there you go. I think we have painted an intriguing picture for a card that was a 6 on AK's gymnastics scale.
I'm at a 6.2 now. You guys have sold me on some of these stories.
Wow.
I'm at like a 6.2.
I'm canceling the barbecue. We're coming inside watching the fights now.
This is a 4. This is somebody's going to the high bar and they hit their release and they don't catch it and face plant. Like, this is a 4, but maybe it's a fun 4.
If Mozharov is not on the card, what is it?
If Mozharov's not on the card, we're in a comfortable 3. Because I am with AK. It's hard to get bad. Like, you got to work to have bad points against you. And this has enough good things going for it that I'm not willing to give it a 2 or a 1. But
yeah, I think it's actually going to be a fun card. In the end, we're going to be like, all right, we're entertained. But this is the name value. I'm being positive here. But we're out of here. You hear the music. AK and I back tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. People's pre-fight show. And we're going to do a watch-along for Aaron Blanchfield, JJ Aldridge as well. So join us then. For Jed, for AK, for Casey, I am Mike Heck. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Love you guys.